All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the workshop of the Board of County Commissioners for March 25th. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First on our agenda today is we have SHS, Southwest Health System, and we're looking at a letter of support. And with that, I will let Bridget, you take it over and tell us what we're looking at.
Good afternoon. I am just coming in on behalf of Southwest Health System to request the county provide a letter of support. We're looking to get congressionally directed spending for a couple of things that need replacement and repair at the physical plant. So we need to replace our emergency fuel oil system that supplies our boilers, as well as med gas manifolds. Hopefully I said that right. Rob will correct me if I didn't. And so along with the correct congressionally directed spending, we have to supply a letter of support. And so we're requesting that from the county.
All right. Is this your first time you've ever applied for the congressionally directed spending?
I've been with SHS for 10 years, and to my knowledge, we've not requested in 10 years
Okay,
for anything not specific to the physical plant. So
very good. I don't have any questions, gentlemen. Do you?
No, I don't.
I don't.
I know that there's a need out there for this.
Pretty straightforward and simple. I think we're all looking for money anywhere we can possibly get it, and a lot of the CDS money is out there, and probably have to take advantage of it whenever we can. So can't make a decision today, but I don't see any reason at all that we won't make a decision on this tomorrow.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
See ya.
See you later.
Yep. All right. With that, Mr. Spratlen, you are next.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Marvelous. You guys?
That's all right.
Great.
Fine
Looking-
day.
Looking sharp there, buddy.
Hey, thanks. It's cold out, too. Getting old. All right. So the Omnibus Mutual Aid Agreement, just for anybody that's listening, or I'm sure this is on here, basically Omnibus is it's an agreement contract or an agreement between the parties involved, which happen to be the three municipalities and the county. And the Omnibus agreement, Dolores, Town of Dolores, Town of Mancos, and City of Cortez have already signed this agreement. You'll get the copy to sign tomorrow if you deem to sign it. It's pretty much participating entities dealing with, the threats we have to public, natural disasters, anything that you can imagine on any type of disaster, hazmat, fire, etc. It talks about the assistant costs, any expenses that extend beyond a 4-hour period, usually customary costs that are involved. The requesting party shall be responsible for those costs or associated with any borrowed assets that we want to play with. Different procedures, just going over it in the procedure part. That the assisting party, when the requesting party sends out any information or needs some help, it's followed within, we hope, 30 days, written confirmation of the said request. We're not, if we are unable to fulfill it, we don't fulfill it. If we've got to use our equipment or personnel or costs for are disasters, then we do it. But when they do request,
So these are truly just disasters, right, not nuisances?
yeah, there may be some nuisances. It's kind of a mix.
I had to poke that
I
in
know,
there.
I was waiting for it, because I did use the D word, Mr. Disaster. So it's, they have to incorporate incident management system principles. The requesting party, at its own expense, provides the consumables and supplies that's needed to keep, all of us up and running for that. It just goes on, independent contractors, wages, hours, terms, conditions, employment. One of the things, if they do request us, some of these agreements have where they'll pick up workers' comp, and that's not a good thing. So if we were to request from the other agencies that we need assistance, they'll come in, they pay those people the wages, they pay the workers' comp, they do all that. We're not responsible for any of that. That's part of the terms on here. Equipment, and any costs related to equipment or outsourcing. And then also, they provide hourly accounting for the charges of the party's employees who perform the services. So we're pretty much helping one another the first 4 hours. Some of those are 12 hours, some are 24. I've seen them up to 48. Our assistance is 4 hours, and then after that, we can ask for the costs. Payment and services are all in there, hopefully within it. Well, it says valid and invoiced assistance within 60 days after any assisting parties invoice. We invoice them. We should get paid within that time. And then we have the liability portion on here. Let me see if I can read that one section. It's based on the full extent of the law. They have an indemnity section in here. And participation in this agreement is voluntary, so it's not mandatory. And then they talk about having any meetings or anything that we do in regards to this agreement. The parties have to be present when we have these agreements and then re-sign this as it goes. It's effective. Whoever signs it at whatever time it's effective. If we sign it tomorrow, it's effective for the county. And the term just continues on unless we decide to change it. There's no termination date. So.
On the duration, you've got a 4-hour duration. Does it end at midnight? Also, because some of those,
Not this one.
We'll do 8 hours or until midnight.
Right. This one's just 4 hours.
Okay.
That's what it says. So whenever they call us, we got 4 hours to go play. This came up, which was pretty interesting, in another county where we ran a vehicle up through the fire and burned it, and it was a handshake, and that entity that ran it through the fire said they want a new vehicle and a paint job and everything, and the other entity said, well, we requested you, but we didn't ask you to run it through a fire. So there was a lot of back and
There's a whole
forth.
story about that.
Yeah, there's a good story behind
Lots
that.
of new brakes.
So that's why these are really good to have, and then you can go off of the neglect part or the non-neglect part. So we have 2 signature pages. I was trying to move stuff around, even with the help of professionals. But anyway, there's 2 agreements. One has you can't have the 4 of us on there, or the 3 of us, and one is, I think Mancus has another attachment to it. But anyway, that's what we're here for. I know the attorneys all have looked at this. We tried to start this during COVID, and that just didn't work. And then we've been working on it on and off. And last year, we put more effort into it to get it done. All the attorneys of all the jurisdictions, all the entities have looked it over, and they're all happy with it. And then, of course, Ian will probably have something to say about it, but it's clean. there's no liability. It's just makes it easy so when we do have that mutual aid response, we're not having questions. It's all in a piece of paper. So that's about it. Finally made it here.
All right, now I'm looking at Ian because,
Well, I mean, Mr. Spratlen and I have been working on this, different renditions of this for a couple years now. And, you know, it's very useful for him to have something like this so he can do his job in the event of a disaster. I don't love stuff like this. I think it's a lot of extra paper. I think that anytime you have something like this, you open yourself up to the possibility of, a requesting entity requesting aid, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, you decide you don't want to provide aid. And yes, this agreement says that it's at the sole discretion of the parties, but you've also got an agreement to provide aid. And so you create a bureaucratic paper system with a large agreement that can create confusion. I also would, how do I say this in a nice way? I talked to Mr. Spratlen about this, and in some ways this system is kind of like NATO, in that the U.S. is in NATO and finances NATO and foots a lot of the bill for NATO, and has a lot of the resources, and then there's all these other countries that piggyback on. We're sort of the U.S. in this agreement. And so I think from a legal standpoint, I think it's as tight as we can make it. I think what you guys need to decide is, and I think obviously Mr. Spratlen's the one that does the job, so he has an understanding of how this works on the ground and what's going to be helpful for him. You guys just have to decide whether you want this on paper or whether you want this in a way that, hey, Town of Memphis calls in the middle of a disaster and says, hey, we need something, and you just say, okay, we're going to go send it. But this is red tape. This is bureaucratic red tape that we're putting on top of bureaucratic red tape. And so legally it's not bad. I think that it protects us as best that we can be protected, but we're talking about, this is a contract. That's what it is.
Voluntary.
Yeah.
And go US. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Well, I've been part of one of these. We didn't have one with a fire, and it was tough to get everybody established for the first 24, 36 hours. Been part of one that had this and established, and everything went really smooth that first 24 hours. So it was, I think that these have the real potential to do something, to really help streamline the effort. I know it can get in the way too, but it's better to have it, be prepared than not.
Yep. And I like some of the payment back, the invoicing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, just keep track of who got what stuff and what kind of money, and what we want to charge them. Maybe we don't charge them for the labor, but we might charge them for the equipment, and that's up to us on what we invoice. So I think it left it open pretty good, and that's, Ian and I have been working on it a long time.
And I think
making
legally
sure
it's fine. I think it creates an illusion that there's going to be guaranteed assistance in the event of an emergency. And as long as everybody understands that that's not what this is doing, that's great. But,
I guess I'm like Kent, and I've worked under a lot of mutual aid agreements in my career. And I don't think there was ever a concept of it was an absolute. So I don't think that at all. If it's there and we can do the assistance, it's always been left up to the
Yeah.
chiefs at that point in time of
Right.
whether they can they or can they not. So
Well, they were all, they were always up front with you. If they can provide, they will. If they can't, you went on. You understood
You went to
what
the
they were.
next one.
You went to the next
Yeah.
one on the list.
Right.
So I don't
Yeah, I've
have
been
any
involved
issue.
in ones without this, and
Mm-hmm.
it's at the higher level, you know, admin and stuff, where people are suddenly getting an invoice for fuel, and you're like, wait a minute, you said you, and I thought you, and there's nothing that says, it says you're gonna pay for my fuel.
Right.
It said, yeah, so it just cleans it up better. Just my thought.
But I also hear what you're saying, Ian.
Yeah, yeah, and I-
Yeah, well,
Definitely.
I agreed with him on the bureaucracy side, but unfortunately, sometimes we gotta lock some of that in, just to cover, I think, covers ourselves, but yet puts us in, you know, another spot, so. Kinda,
And you're right, I understand that we are the US in this, because we are the.
We've worked on this a lot. We've worked on this thing a lot, and we've made a lot of tweaks, and, I mean, we've certainly tightened it up a great deal. So, I mean, this is a lot different than what we started working on a couple of years ago.
yeah,
So,
it fits our county. So, there you have it, that's it. Any
Okay. I don't. Commissioner?
It's a tool.
Yeah. Kind of like our fatality management plan, or our ag, which is the next one. And, you know, you coming to help us in an ag issue here, or we gonna come and help you? And how does all that work? And I need to pick somebody's brain up there about some of that too, but just trying to lock some of that stuff in.
I guess what bothers me a little bit is, you know, the people that would need this the most is probably, I don't know.
I understand.
Well, I mean, to me, you sign this deal, yeah, we agree to do this, do that. What's Dolores gonna provide? They don't have a marshal's office, they don't have anybody to provide. We're providing a service for them. They don't have anything, they don't control their fire department there. So, I guess I'm not against having,
Right,
but to me, it looks to me like, oh, if you're gonna do this, you ought to have every fire department sign this thing too.
Well, the fire chiefs
They-
definitely have an agreement. They're with the Montezuma Fire Chiefs Association, so
They
they
have
have
their
an
own
MOU
deal.
where they all run together and help
They have
each
all
other.
their own mutual aid agreements.
Used to be a
which is-
1 mile thing, now it doesn't matter. It's the new
Yeah,
agreement
yeah.
we have. So that's in one of our,
Yeah.
and then the fire ops, the state and the feds will jump in and help. So the fire side of that, we're pretty good. And even on the water runoff issues we had in Dolores, all the fire guy, everybody came out and just helped, and it was all free, so. I think we're good with fire in. EMS is always there to help. I think it's just road and bridge, some equipment. If they've got some gravel and we need it because we run out, or sand, or a culvert, or
So-
something we gotta grab, I don't know.
The recent issues in Dolores that they had, so they had all of their own town staff out there. Although we provided material, we provided trucking, we provided a way to get the resources to them, and then they were taking care of it in their own streets.
Right.
Therefore, so they do have resources, although it would be minimal just because of their size, but they do have personnel issues or personnel that they would be able to. You know, if an EOC was needed, or, I get what you're saying, but they do have some resources that could be available.
Right.
And here again, it's gonna be, like Ian said, in this regard, we are the US. And I get it, I understand it, but.
But even, you look at resource allocation, the town of Dolores signs on, if you have an incident over there, the town can supply people that know where the water lines are, where the gas lines are, you know, make access to buildings that we don't have a clue what's going on.
Right. Yep.
So they have some, they have some to provide.
Yeah.
Same way with Mancus, there may be water lines, we don't know where they're at, you know.
Obviously, we are the biggest player, like Ian
Yeah.
said. We
Yeah.
are the US in this mutual aid agreement, absolutely.
And it's still volunteer, if we don't have it, we
We
can't
don't
It
have
is
it.
voluntary, and, you know, if you, yeah, and I understand the voluntary, you could say, hey, we're not gonna help you today. Naturally, we help one another. We've always done that, but if we need the stuff, we can't just give it up. I mean, that's part of that plan, so. That's why we left it voluntary, and first 4 hours, we can come and help, we'll do whatever. I think 4 was a good idea. I've seen it go to 24, and that's draining resources quite a bit. I mean, we'll still do the resources, but we might get the
Right.
reimbursement, so, depending on what we invoice.
Okay,
Hey, thanks, guys.
thank you, sir.
Have a great rest of
Okay,
the day.
I see Fader in the room, so we'll skip by the next bullet point and we'll come up with resolution number 4, the amending of the 2023 budget. And I think she also gave us a sheet on our table here. So with that, Phaedra, would you please turn on your mic and get it as close to you as possible? And shut off the other one, because you might, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, this is just a little bit of housekeeping for 2023, and these are the changes that we had through the year that changed the budget that you approved in 2022. In the general fund, we had some grants that changed the budget. And also after the 2022 audit, I will now go in and fix the beginning balance for the 2023. And that's also listed there for each fund. So the changes were general fund, and they were grants. Road and Bridge has a list of items that they changed. We had asphalt increase, public utilities, special road projects, and the Alkali Creek Bridge. Do you have any questions on those?
No.
And let's see, go down to the lodger's tax. That increase was due to increase in grant. They gave more monies out in grants than they had anticipated because they collected more. And I believe the only other one was the LEA, and that was increased 33,500, and that was for dispatch fees.
And this is all for the beginning balance of 2023.
Yes, all the
Yeah.
other funds, the
Yeah.
only thing that's listed is that will just change the beginning balance after our audit. Pretty easy.
Questions, gentlemen?
No.
You have anything, Commissioner?
Oh, I don't have any.
Okay,
Oh,
all right.
We're good?
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll go back up to our reappointment letter to the Arriola Cemetery District. We have, and my only question on this, Travis, is do we have, how many are up? And what is there, I mean, because every time these things come up, and we just had one come up a couple weeks ago, or?
Yeah, so
whatever,
there's
I
only
mean-
3 on the board for the Lewis Arriola Cemetery District. They have one that's current. Sherri, her term's up and she would like another term, and they have another unfilled position.
So is this, because here again, these terms are all different?
Yeah,
Is
they're
this a
staggered.
6? Is this a 4? Is
I
this a
believe
3?
I
This is
believe
more
this
to
is
3.
a 3.
So this one's a 3.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I would like to make sure is that we have the actual number of what we're going to appoint her for. And, you know, if you're out there listening, Sherri, thank you for putting forth your name to do and serve on this board again, because it seems like we struggle with people to serve on these boards. So I thank you, I appreciate that. But we need to make sure that we have the right years. That's all I had.
I don't have any. It's,
Yeah.
Okay.
she's been on there for a while, I think.
Okay, very good. And then the last bullet point, we have kind of a discussion as related to the restructuring of the Noxious Weed program. And I think we are getting relatively close to kind of where we want to be, gentlemen. The conversation previously was to take it back to basically what the statute says that we have to provide. I think we've had that conversation here openly, and they are about completed with the free edified work they're doing with the grants, and then we can take it back to just basically what the statute states, which is then going back to a part-time person, which we kind of came up with just a 24-hour person, a part-time person, and they will be doing nothing but doing the mapping and or the cost share program, which is kind of patterned after what you guys had in the 90s and what you had, Commissioner, in the mid-2000s. Is that still kind of what we're looking at? And then with the departure of the person that we have employed right now, which departs at the end of this week, we now have this put together so that we can put it out for advertisement. How does this look to you all?
I read over this and it looks good to me.
And again, just to make sure everybody's on board, it's just a part-time position, which I think we've all agreed on that, and taking it back to just what the statute says we have to provide, and then we'll figure out a way to deal with all of the equipment that we have as it related to the noxious or the free Adafite program, not the noxious weeds.
Correct. And the free Adafite program is not part of the noxious weeds. It's
Right.
kind of a separate.
Right.
And if you guys are okay with this, again, it's just a part-time position. We figured three days a week, 24 hours, and we figured that would be enough. Looking in the back of the history of what you all were doing, it kind of seems like it would be enough to take care of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine.
So we will have no more free Adafite program as soon as we get this project, as I was telling you where we were at earlier, we can be done with it.
When you look like down along the San Juan and every place else, there is so many. For what we're doing right here, if we're
I agree.
it's so crazy, because just like going down there Saturday, you go down there, I went down the Montezuma Creek, down the river there to get to that place toward Bluff. There is so many along that river. If you were going to do something that was really going to, those kind of places I could understand, because they're sucking right out of that river. I mean, that would probably make a difference, but I don't know. I just don't think we're.
Well, I think we're all in agreement that we are, once we bring this into this soft landing, we're done, and this is kind of the direction that we're heading, and I don't think we need anything else from there, do we, Travis? It's everything that we've agreed upon, and it goes back to basically a mapping and a cost
Working
share
with planning.
program
Planning has to have, you know, if there's a weed issue on a property.
to just what the statute says that we have to provide.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Well, that's it. That's kind of the job description. That's what we're going to be putting out. And again, it's just a part-time position. All right. If you have no other questions, gentlemen, we have come to the end of our agenda for March 25th, and this meeting is adjourned. Oh, wait a minute. Well, it's okay. I did have a request that came in, if I may. I always look.
He's shaking his head.
Well, I kind of need to get an answer so I can email back Commissioner from Montrose, if we can have a meeting with them.
How about tomorrow, 2 o'clock?
Actually, it's going to be, she requested between 2 and 4. So if
Let's
that
get them all together.
kind of works, I mean, we could do them back to back.
Tomorrow,
The
I've got a meeting with the Forest Service.
Okay, well, she gave us 2 dates, we can talk about it, or I'll get with it, and then we'll get it out. Okay, all right, we are adjourned, thank you.